Yeah, she actually was able to do the A1C test there, and it was at 5.3. So it was definitely at the normal stage. I mean, it wasn't even at, sort of the borderline pre-diabetic. It was gone.
Jeremy, how did you find carnivore?
So actually, my mom back in early May, I think it was, of last year, um, she was having some intestine issues, and she was looking for ways to, just sort of find a way to stop the problems that she was having. And with diverticulitis, the problem is there's no real like set thing that says eat this, don't eat this, right? So she was just looking into a lot of different things, and one of them that she eventually came across was carnivore. And she was watching Dr. Chafee and a lot of the other guys that are out there, and so she actually started doing it for a couple of weeks. Um, the only problem, see, the problem with diverticulitis is it when it comes, it just it just shows up, right? And you have no real warning. There's nothing, that you can say that that actually triggers it. But for those first couple of weeks, she was feeling really good. Her energy was up, and so she started telling me about it. She's like, you should go and at least look into it. So that's what I started doing. I think I looked at Ken Berry's, Carnivore Basics, and honestly, that that was it. That really that got me hooked. It was interesting just because it was very simple, but at the same time, it was food that I like to eat, man. And we're talking meat, So it's like, really, yeah, here's a built-in excuse for me to be able to eat meat and egg and fish and all the things that I like. Okay, let's go. So yeah, so I had actually started it on excuse me, on May 11th of last year. And I just been going since then. And it's been incredible. It's hard sometimes, especially when the sugar cravings sort of start walking back in. But yeah, that was how I got started. And I didn't actually go with like Ken Berry's idea of doing a 2 week transition. I just went for it on day one. And I mean, my body took a little bit of time to adjust. But once it did that, then it just felt really great, and things just kind of took off from there.
So, in the past, well, first of all, congratulations on getting this far in. But in the past, what kind of things led you to be in the position where you even considered carnivore as something that you should be doing?
Well, man, when I was obviously, when I was a teenager, I was doing sports in school, doing sports outside of school. So I think I can honestly say that I had a much, better metabolism back then, and I was one of the, sort of silly jokes that, oh, look at how much Jeremy can eat, and he just does it really quick, and then he goes back for more. So I did that for a long time, and then as it just as time went on, I continued to do that, but my obviously my metabolism wasn't keeping up. So just over time, I just got a little bit bigger, little more lethargic. I mean, it wasn't like it came in all at once. I do remember back in, let's see, I was born and raised in California, and I moved to Sacramento in 2005, and it wasn't too long after I'd moved. The place that I was at, I was at work, and they had like one of these scales that was designed to weigh very, very heavy things. So I went ahead and stood on it, and I was actually a little over 300. So that was kind of like the first real sort of wake up call to me that a you know you gotta try to do something. Um, but the problem was I'd gone for so long. In 2005, I mean, I was already like well into my 30s, and so a lot of the bad habits, a lot of the things that I learned over the years, I just continued to do. And not to use that as an excuse, but it's just one of those things that it's taken years for me to get to the point where I finally found something that's going to work as far as the diet is concerned or weight loss is concerned. But it's also going to take me a long time to break a lot of those habits. And um in 2011, I was in the hospital. I had to have my gallbladder removed, and I remember um I had sat on the I was able to sit on the bed, and they had a way to weigh you on the bed. So I was actually still in the 300s. So my weight had obviously fluctuated over those 5 years. Um, but it just kind of continued to go on the incline after that. I don't remember when it was, but it was I don't know. It's probably, let's see, that was in 11. So I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years after that is when I crossed over into 400. And the heaviest that I ever got was 475. And and that, and then I just obviously I had to battle with trying different weight loss programs. I tried Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig. I tried Nutrisystem. Tried all. I also the the thing that I did a lot was I would just do just a restrictive diet where I would just cut down to about like 2,000 calories a day, and and for a long time that would actually work. But the problem was when I would run into an issue, when I would run into a problem. I'm an emotional eater. Everything I got. So what ended up happening was, if I stumbled, if I did something wrong, if I had a bad day, I would go to the food. And then as soon as I did that, I would eat a bunch, and then the next day I would eat a bunch, and then it's just like, okay, I give up, I'm over. So and so that is, for me, emotional eating is one of those things that I'm really still dealing with. Um, for one of the videos that I made on, for my YouTube channel was about emotional eating, it was an odd topic because, a lot of people would say, well, hey, um, at least you're sticking with carnivore food. And for the most part, that was correct. But there were, once in a while, I would slip and have, my downfall is cherry Coke. And so I would have that, or I would have some sort of candy or something like that. That's as far as I've gone, as far as having really bad sort of issues. But even with carnivore, there were times that I would eat probably 3 times in a day. And one of the biggest things that I know that they talk about is, with carnivore, you don't have to count calories. You just eat till you're full. Well, the thing is, um, if I do that, sometimes, because sometimes I can still sort of pack away the food. Yes, I realize my stomach has probably shrunk, but it's just sort of like, an abusive relationship. Like, okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna shove more food down there, man. I tell you. So I mean, there could have been times that I would have eaten, over 2,500, maybe even 3,000 calories, in a day. And now granted, I may not do that every day, but the idea that you can still sort of, I don't know, OD, for lack of a better term, even on stuff that's that's good for you. So that's sort of been my up and down, over the last 8 months.
Right. And so those kind of those kind of feelings of needing to eat too much, or needing the cheat or whatever, that dissipating over time?
Yeah, one of the things that I've really been dealing with over the last several months is just a lot of stress. And so, stress and emotional eating for me just a lot of times went hand in hand. So what I've actually been working at is trying to find ways of dealing with my stress in a way that's not, food or drink related. Um, trying to go outside and do something, try to come up with a hobby, try to do something that I can take my mind off of wanting to put something in my mouth, wanting to ingest something. And it is working. There's definitely times that it is working. There are some times when it's, just kind of iffy, but I'm still working on that. And I know that once it warms up, because it's been, I think it was like 17 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, when I got up, and it's difficult to try to go walking, when it's that, and then by the time it warmed up, it was like, 35 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was only just a couple of degrees above freezing, and but it's still really cold. And then you've got the wind, so now it feels like it's even worse. But I mean, actually in the next couple of days, it's actually supposed to warm up, even though it's going to rain. I would rather go out in 40-degree weather with a little bit of rain than trying to bundle up everything, even my face, and then just trying to walk for a mile. Then you're like, "Oh, I can't breathe."
Yeah, I totally understand that. I'm struggling in like 32-degree Fahrenheit temperatures to do anything, so I certainly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, in the 8 months that you've been doing this, what has changed for you?
So I think the biggest thing, the so I for me, the realization for me came about, I don't know, month 4 or something like that. And this was just with carnivore overall. Um, for me, it's always been the weight loss, right? That was the biggest thing for me. Um, I also had diabetes. I also have sleep apnea. Um, and other than that, there's really not, there's not a lot of other things that are going on with me. But what I was trying to get at was, I was finding that as I was talking to other people, there are a lot of people that are out there that are not overweight, but still have a huge laundry list of ailments and things that are going on in their lives that they are struggling with. And so I think it was at that point when I really sat down, and I was trying to think of, any other ailments, anything else that was going on. But I think for me, the biggest thing is the diabetes. But actually, the diabetes is now in remission. I got some blood work done a couple of months ago, when I got a job and was able to get insurance. So I went, and yeah, she actually was able to do the A1C test there, and it was at 5.3. So it was definitely at the normal stage. I mean, it wasn't even at, sort of the borderline pre-diabetic. It was gone. So for me, that is the biggest win for me, is the fact that it's gone. Like I said, I'm still, battling with sugar, and having something that will come every once in a while. So I got a feeling that, my blood sugar may spike a little bit, but it's definitely not, because when I was when I had started carnivore, my blood sugar numbers when I was taking it was usually in the 180s. And and the thing is, I was taking metformin, and it's funny because the realization just kind of came to me that that stuff's not doing any good. It's not doing me any good to take it. What needs to happen is I need to find a way, to get the sugar out of my system. And I think that was sort of the realization that was coming as I was doing carnivore, was the fact that I'm removing all the sugars or anything that's going to turn into sugar, and then it's going to affect my system. So when I finally hit that realization of, I don't have to take this thing as long as I stick with carnivore. and I don't like to use the word, I don't like to use the term miracle cure, because that's not what it is. But for me, it was a miracle because I watched those numbers come down. And now, even when I take it, even when I take my blood, it's, usually, and it was somewhere between like 95 and maybe 110. So it's definitely not shooting up there into the 120s, 30s, and 80s. I realize that over time, when I can focus and get back towards losing the weight and having it really start coming off, that I know that those numbers will drop. I mean, it's not like they're going to drop significantly, but I would love to see, like when I get up in the morning, I would love to see like low 90s, even 80s. I think, what is it, like 70 or 75, I think, to 99 or to up to 100, I think it's normal. I don't remember exactly, but somewhere in there is what I would just love to be, just on a daily basis.
Nice. And have you noticed any improvement in the sleep apnea?
So, yeah, in some respects I have. The one thing that I found is I was able to adjust the amount of air that was going in. I was actually able to lower it down, because what I was finding was, when I would when I would a lot of what I do is when I turn it on, I don't know if you're familiar with CPAP machines, but usually when you power it on, there's a sort of ramp up button that starts the air just kind of slowly, and then gets it to the point, up to the point where it's, full on. So it takes a few minutes, but me, I just usually just turn it on and just go to sleep. But I find that if I kind of drift off, that I was having much more air in my lungs. Um, I don't know if I should or shouldn't, but the thing was is I couldn't. It was like it's like if you breathe in halfway and then breathe and then down and then breathe, but you still got a bunch of air in it. So what I did was I turned it down, and that actually helped, because I felt like I didn't have to, fill up my lungs as much. And I'm actually thinking about doing it again, lowering it down a little more. Um, and actually, what's funny is, for years I could never sleep on my back. I always had to sleep on my side. But I've actually found that since I started this, I can actually lay on my back and fall asleep, and still just get like regular sleep. I'm not waking up like I usually do. A lot of times on, Sundays is my nap day. So, um, so a lot of times what I'll do is, when I come home from church, I just go, I'll eat or something like that, or I'll just lay down for a couple hours. But I can just, put the machine on, lay down for about an hour, maybe two, and then I wake up and I feel great, and I can just keep going. So I think it's definitely getting better. I know that as I lose more weight, and especially lose the fat that's in here that causes, the throat to constrict, then, I'll be able to ditch that machine once and for all.
Certainly sounds like a positive that you're able to sleep on your back now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, So, and weight loss wise, what's happened in the time that you've been on carnivore?
So when I started, I was at 453, and so I got down. The lowest that I got down to. So here's where the journey gets interesting. The lowest I got down to was 371, and but it was around that time that I unfortunately started, sort of introducing and playing with sugar and the garbage again. And so over the last few months, I actually haven't lost any. I've actually been in a battle of um, like drinking the soda or having some sort of sugar, and then the inflammation kicks in, and then the water weight gain kicks in, and then my weight will shoot up to about, shoot up a 5, 10 pounds, and then I've got, then it takes me like 2, 3, 4 days for it to come back down, and then something happens and it goes back up. So unfortunately, it's this up down battle that I'm having. Um, now, a lot of times, in the past, I would give up. I would just say, okay, I can't do this. It's over. I'm done. It just walk away. But the thing is with not only the weight loss, but again with the, sleeping better and the blood sugar normalizing out, I know that this is for me. This is what I got to do. But that just means that I've just got to get through this battle of dealing with the sugar that, and once I do that, then, things will get better. But that's just that, that's the problem. That's where I'm at. And that's why, when I talk to people about it, I want to be honest with them and tell them, you know, for me, you know, sugar is an addictive substance and it is a struggle for me. Now, for everybody else, they may not be able, they may not have um, an addiction to sugar per se. It could be, something else that they drink or ingest or eat or whatever, that, that could be a battle for them. For me, it's just the straight sugar that, that I'm still dealing with, but I'm not giving up on this.
So, yeah, I mean, it's good to hear that you've made good progress, and it's good to hear that you're committed to it. I'm interested to know, like, on a day-to-day basis, um, what has improved about your life since May last year?
I
What's
think the
easier for you?
I think the biggest thing for me is the amount of energy that I have. Because most of the time I'll eat, um, I don't know, usually about 8 o'clock or so, 7, 8 o'clock, just before I start work. Um, Great thing is I work from home, so all I got to do is pivot from here over to here, and I can start work. But I can go in, I can eat, um, and usually I'll have like, maybe a pound or so, maybe a little less of ground beef, and then for lunch, usually it's the same thing, or if there's a roast or something else that I have in there, I pretty much just switch to just lion. The idea of just lion is just meat. Probably for me, it's sort of the dirty lion, because I'm also eating pork and some other things, but it's mostly just because that's all I can afford at the store. But um, but yeah, I mean, I can go the rest of the day and not be tired, go and do things. When I go to church, I'm on the media team, so I'm up and down the stairs all the time and doing a lot of different things there. Whereas, May and before, had I gone to church, it would be like, okay, where do you want me? You want me upstairs, or do you want me downstairs doing something? And then that would be it. I would just I would be there for the rest of the time I was there, because I couldn't go up the stairs and down, and if I did, I'd be and and sweating, and it would just look horrible. But now I'm going up and down, like 4 or 5 times, running around trying to get things done because I'm only there for a couple hours. So that is, I think, the biggest thing is the energy. I think the other thing too is, how a lot of people talk about this idea of sort of like a brain fog. I think for me, um, that kind of ties in as well, because there's a lot of times, and I think a lot of this is due, maybe just being overweight, but I think some of it also has to do with the fact that for years before I ever got my CPAP machine, I wasn't sleeping, right? And from what I've read, it can sometimes, do damage, to your brain and to your thought processes. And so a lot of times what would happen, and it's unfortunate, it still happens now, is if I'm talking to somebody about something, all of a sudden I'll stop because I there's a word I'm trying to get to, or there's a direction that I want to go in, and I can't get it. I can't think of the word, think of the phrase, and I know that happens to a lot of people, but I think for me, it just seems like it happens a lot more. And my father, before he died in 2019. He was also overweight, had diabetes, had a CPAP, and he would do the same thing. And um, so it's definitely something that I think is getting better, and I believe that over time it I'm hoping that it will improve even more once I am able to actually, sleep through the night, regardless of whether or not I got that machine on. Um, but I find that I can just, I don't know, I just want to say, like, I maybe more creative, I guess, in some respects, because there's a lot of things. I mean, the fact that um, after 5 weeks after I started Carnivore, I decided to go on YouTube and start making videos. So I think that's another thing too. Is it helped with my confidence, because I could see more confidence in me, because I was actually finally able to accept me for me. Because a lot of times, um, I'll go and do everything for everybody. I will go and fight for anybody, even up to the point where, I have to put my life on the line. But when it came to me, it's like, nah, it's okay. No, I'll just put things off. And so I'm, my life is coming into focus, and I'm actually including myself in things now. So um, I think that's one of the biggest things. So that I always talk about my why. Why did I do this? So, and a lot of what I tell a lot of people is, it's great if your why starts out with other people, family, friends, work, school, whatever. But at some point, somewhere in that list, you need to go in there. And even if you're not at the top of the list, you need to make sure that you can love you and accept you and understand that you are going through a process of fixing yourself. And that's what's going to make a better you, is because you're now in the mix as opposed to just everybody else.
So I think that's a really important point, because we always focus on helping others and what we need to do for others, and being around for others and stuff.
Yeah.
But um, it's also important that we are actually focused on ourselves and looking after ourselves.
Yep.
Um, because we can't do a good job of looking after anyone else if we're not in a
Right.
good condition, right?
Like my nephew is 16. He just got his license, so he's all excited. He has a girlfriend now, so he's really excited. My niece is 11, but and I'm doing everything I can to be with them. They spent the last 3 years at my house every day, doing homeschool. Because after the shutdown and everything, we did the last half of 20 here, and then we did 21 and 22 here. So it was great to be available for them. But the thing that I was thinking about was, well, what would happen if I wasn't doing this, or if I had gotten bigger, and got to the point where, like, they need me to take them somewhere. Really, you want me to go and just, go 50 feet out to my car? You want me to walk to my car and then drive you somewhere, and then I got to walk back, or even, I got to go to the store. Oh man, so, and so that's the big thing is, um, starting out with carnivore. Yeah, like I said, it's great if you do family, but you also want to make sure that you can, like you said, you want to be there for them, but you got to make sure that you can actually go and do it and be available, to get up and go to the store, grab a cart, go, running around the aisles and get whatever you need, and not be hanging on to that thing for your life, which is what I used to do, and it was horrible.
Right. You got to make sure your cup is full too, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So did I catch you right in what you were saying before? You're eating breakfast and lunch, so you're doing 2 meals a day, or are you doing 3 meals a day?
So most of the time, I only do two. Actually, there are some times when I'll actually only just do one. Um, I think it just depends on, honestly, what I have thought out, but it's usually I'll eat, like, I'll usually eat breakfast ish. I think it's only, I think I just use that term only because it's usually about 8 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know. For me, it's like, first meal and then second meal. I mean, the way it used to be for me was I would eat like the hobbits, first breakfast, second breakfast, 11 Z's lunch. I would just, I would find reasons, but now it's just pretty much just, just eat once in the morning, and then, like I said, sometimes that would be it. If I know it's going to be it, I might eat a little more, but otherwise, then I'll just eat again, like around 12, something like that, because that's usually the time that I break for lunch anyway, and then that's usually it. So it makes it really simple.
And how have family and friends reacted to the way you're eating now?
I've actually got my brother doing it now. So, he's had, he's uh I mean, he has the issues that he has. He remarried about 4 years ago. He has a son from that marriage, and then his wife has two kids, and then his two kids. So now there's, 8 people, 7 people in that house. So a lot of times it's just, it's a lot of craziness. So what ends up happening is, by the time he gets home, he'll, rush to, between him and his wife, they'll rush to put, all the food together, and then at that point, it's like, oh, I might as well just eat, might as well just eat whatever it is we cooked. And one of the things he was talking about was just the idea of, like, you buy like the box of mac and cheese, and it used to be you could just buy one of those to feed everybody, but now you got to buy like three of them. So now you're spending, like, I don't know, 12 to 15 bucks just for three things of mac and cheese, and then whatever else you're going to have too. So, he was keeping up with me. He was, watching some of the videos, and he would talk to me, and then he just decided a little over a month ago, he was just like, okay, I'm just going to do 30 days. And, the weight was dropping, his blood pressure was dropping, and he's feeling really good. And, like I said, my mom, just because of with the food that she has sort of built her own diet, for this diverticulitis. And I mean, so far it's been working great. She has had, no flare ups. and because the last one was around May of last year. So I mean, she's been doing really well. I mean, a lot of the stuff that she's eating is not, I don't know, for lack of a better word, dense. She's eating like sweet potatoes and yams, and she'll eat egg and some other things. So it's stuff that is, for the most part, is going to digest a lot easier than meat, or even some more solid things, just because we don't want it to get caught in those little pockets, and then it flares up again, and then she's down for 2, 3, 4 days. She may even have to go back into the hospital again, because it just gets really bad. So um it's interesting is when I went to the doctor and I had my blood work done, and she was like, wow, what is it you're doing? And I said carnivore, and she's like, okay. And other people that I'm not kidding, I talked to a bunch of people about this, and they don't look at me like deer in the headlights. They actually are hearing about this, and it's really starting to get around to people, the fact that it is a very viable option for, I mean, it is a restrictive diet. I mean, if we're going to put a term to it, it is restrictive, but it's on the much better side of restrictive, because you're eliminating all the stuff that's going to turn into sugar, which is going to turn into fat, which is going to also raise your blood pressure, or your blood numbers and stuff like that. And I find that the people that I like take off and want to talk to the most are not necessarily the ones that are overweight, but I do like to really talk to them. But it's the people who have type 2 diabetes. And granted, most of the time it's going to be the same people that are in the same boat like me, that are big. But you know type 2 diabetes can come in anybody's weight, anybody's size. So you obviously don't have to be 2, 3, 400 pounds overweight. You can still be at a very healthy weight, and start diabetes. So those are the
Yeah,
people that I really want to go after.
there's a lot of thin people in Japan with type 2 diabetes. Yeah.
Exactly. And chances are, if they were just to tweak their diet a little bit, if it's at all possible, there it goes. you know and so it's, I don't know, it really is amazing. And just again, the ask of people, look, try 30 days, try 60 days. I mean, what honestly is the most that's going to happen? If it doesn't work for you, 2 months of your life is gone. Okay. If your blood sugar numbers don't change, if you're not feeling better, if you're actually feeling worse, okay, thanks for doing it. And at least be honest about it. And but I I got a feeling that almost anybody that really tries it, and really, even if they have to take those 2 weeks of making that transition, I really think that it would pay off for them, once that time is over, and they'll want to keep doing it.
100%. 100%. So, Jeremy, can you talk a little bit about your YouTube channel, please?
Yeah. So, um, yeah, like I said, when I first started, um, I was honestly looking for people that were making videos about carnivore. Now, women, please don't get mad, okay? But look, I'm a guy, okay? So I love listening to people that do carnivore, but for me as a man, I wanted to hear a man's journey. I just want to hear about what he was doing. And so there are a lot of men that are out there that have made videos, and that are making videos about carnivore. But a lot of times what happens is they will do one video about 100 days or 200 days, or they will give a 20, 30 minute video on an extended number of days, which is great. But the problem is I want to hear about, when you say, oh yeah, there was a few times where things were kind of up and down, and they may gloss over it, and I know that it is not intentional. It is not, because that's not the focus of the video for them. It's to give their overall. But for me, just because of the kind of person that I am, I want to hear more about those up and downs, because there may be, especially if it was a guy that was big like me, it could be that um, the things that they were going through at that time could be things that I'm going through. So when I started in May, I sat back and and I was really kind of not necessarily arguing, but I was kind of going through the pros and the cons of putting myself out there. So the biggest was, okay, you want me to turn on this camera here and actually start okay. But the thing is, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be honest, and if I run into issues, then I've got to talk about it. And so, because I need to be accountable to me first and foremost, and this I feel is the best way, because honestly, I could write it down maybe on my phone or maybe in a journal or something like that. But the thing is I don't always granted, if I'm running around somewhere, I may not always have my phone with me, or if I'm writing it down in a journal, I may not have the journal, but I can just say, look, go to YouTube, look this up, here's everything. Here's all my ups, here's all my downs, here's where I am at. So when I started, it was okay. I started 5 weeks after, and I just decided. At first, I was making 2 videos a week, and honestly, the only reason why I'm not doing that now is just because sometimes I feel like I've run out of things to talk about. But what I'm going to try and do is just get back to at least once a week video of at least just saying, "Hey, I'm still alive. Here's what I'm doing," and then once a month I'll do, okay, it's now been, my next one would be 9 months in, February 9, 10 or something like that. So that is what my channel is about. It's my journey, but it's also for people to be able to hopefully relate to some of the things that I'm going through, and be able to say, and I've gotten a lot of comments where people have said, thank you for saying this, because there are times when I worry, like, especially like around the holidays, I worry about, am I going to overeat? Am I going to, am I going to screw up? Am I going to just, completely just give up? But one of the things that I like to tell people is, it's only one meal. It's not just one day. It's just one meal. If you mess up one meal, so what? It's not like there's somebody off on the side taking notes of everything. Oh, you ate this? No, no, sorry, you're done. That's no. It, like, I'm 52 years old. It's taken me a long time to screw myself up. So now I got to fix myself. So it may take a little time, and it's certainly, little over 8 months. I'm getting on the right track, but it may just take me a little bit more time. But I got to keep going. But yeah, that's what the channel is about. And I've done, I did a 5K, so I made a quick video out of that. I was also able to go. There's an amusement park not too far from where I live, and they do Christmas lights. During like just after Thanksgiving. So me and my brother and his family, we went, and I just filmed some of the Christmas lights and put that together. And and as I do other things, I want to put those together too.
And so, what's the name of the channel?
So it is the Carnivore Crusader. I got to the point at one where I was like, I really want to start fighting for people. People who want to do this, people who really want to know and understand about carnivore, So I actually I sat down with a UI generator, and I was like, what are some ideas of YouTube channel names that I can come up with that have to do with talking about carnivores. It just I came up with just huge list, and I actually posted a bunch of them. And one of them that I just kind of kept coming back to was the Carnivore Crusader, and I was also thinking about could I use Bard somewhere, but then I was like, well, I don't want to sing, so I don't want to I don't want to throw people off. So I went with that. I do have an idea eventually for a t-shirt, but I am, or some sort of emblem or logo. So the idea that I've had is a, it's night. There is a, it is at night. There is a knight sitting on a log with a fire in front of him. His shield and his sword are off to his side, and when he's holding over the fire, is a tomahawk steak. So he's cooking his food. So I've honestly I've thought about that. It's like, oh, I wish I could do. I wish I was creative in that respect, but I don't have I don't have Photoshop or anything like that. But one day I'll come up with something.
Nice. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you, sir.